Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to one and all to the Science Club at JNP. As you know, JNP conducts Science Club event the second Sunday of every month. And I welcome you all here and also the audience who will be joining us online. And this science club will be based on the topic, as you can see on the screen, Artemis, taking humans back to the moon. It's a very exciting project. Humans went to moon, but for many decades, again, that there was no focus on that, and now there is focus on taking humans back to moon. And today's speaker is Dr. B.R. Guruprasad, who is the director of this Jawaharlal Nehru Planetarium. I'll give a brief introduction of the speaker of today. Dr. B.R. Guruprasad is the director of this planetarium. Before this, he has served as a satellite scientist in satellite mission planning and later headed the media and public relations wing of ISRO. Apart from all this, for more than 2 decades, he has been very active in science communication, and he has authored 13 books, among which some have been translated to various Indian languages and contributed to various science articles published in reputed newspapers and magazines in both English and Kannada. He has been involved in teacher training programs, science quizzes, conducting workshops for students from various parts of the country, etc. I heartily welcome Sir, and I request him to deliver today's Science Club talk. Thank you, sir.
Hello, yeah. Thanks, Sharanya. Thanks a lot. Good afternoon to you all, space enthusiasts, science enthusiasts. And yeah, so as part of our science club activities, today we have this program. Normally, in science club we focus on one thing in science. Today, let us say that thing is nothing but moon. Okay, let us take it like that. Specifically speaking, the subject is on Artemis. Okay, what is this Artemis? Taking back to moon, why it is done, how it is done, in what way it is done, all these things, and a background to the human exploration of the moon, as well as what is so special about the moon. All these things we'll learn in the next 35 to 40 minutes. After that, I would be much obliged to answer your questions if I can. So, this is the subject, and today, we are living in a time which is very exciting from the point of view of science in general and space in particular, because a lot of developments which are taking place across the world as well as in India, they are very exciting, exciting indeed. So Artemis, it is an endeavor which is really exciting, because humans, after five decades after they left the moon, again they are going back. And if they are going back, what are the reasons for that? Why humans conveniently forgot about the moon in the past 5 decades? Why such a sudden found enthusiasm? If there is enthusiasm, what are the next plans? All these things, where will this all go? All these things we will try to deliberate on in this lecture. And today, even at this moment of time, there is a huge rocket which is as high as a 32-story building. It is standing at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, United States. 32-story building. So from top to bottom, that is the thing. And the rocket weighs no less than 6 million pounds. Okay, divide it by 2.2, you will get in kilograms. Okay, so this is the rocket, huge rocket, and top of that there is a spacecraft called Orion. So this rocket is supposed to launch this Orion spacecraft under a program called Artemis. Okay, this Actually, this launch of this rocket should have taken place on February 6th or even February 8th, okay, today. But the problem is due to a technical issue which is quite serious. The launch was postponed, and now the earliest date is March 6th, the coming month, 6th of next month. Let us see some more things about this rocket, and look at that. This is yet another picture of this rocket. This rocket is called as SLS, okay, Space Launch System, okay. It sounds like our ASLV, PSLV, GSLV, like that, because normally American rockets have names, okay, mythological names. Titan, okay, Atlas, Thor, like that, okay. So Atlas, Centaur, like the such names. Even Russian rockets, they have names like Proton, Soyuz means union in Russia. In Soviet days, they were the colorful terms. Soyuz and Proton and Vostok. Vostok means east. Sputnik, that is the name of the Sputnik, was a satellite. Of course, the rocket that launched it also was called as Sputnik rocket. Sputnik means companion. That's all. So like that, and Chinese rockets you take, they have all are termed as CZ, Changzheng. Changzheng means long march. That is during Mao's time, whatever was there, that has a historical significance. In India, we have got 6 generation of launch vehicles: SLV-3, ASLV, PSLV, GSLV, LVM-3 and SSLV. Okay, we don't have names, our names. Till now, I don't know why it has not been kept. Anyway, suffice it to say, this is a rocket. This is a huge rocket. Perhaps this is the largest rocket which is in existence today. I'll come to that. And in this rocket, on February 6th or today, February 8th, 4 people would have gone, okay, towards the moon. Towards the moon. Look at that. He's the commander, okay, and 3 more people. What is so special about this? Okay, so he is Jeremy Hansen. He is a Canadian astronaut. Victor Glover, the first black astronaut, okay, first Afro-American to go towards the moon, not to space, towards the moon. Okay, Christina Koch, she is the first woman to leave Earth orbit, would have been, and he is the commander. And these 4 would have gone, but anyway, due to the postponement, they are waiting. They were already in quarantine. There was a time when we didn't know what was quarantine. It was only in textbooks. Thanks to COVID, we know quarantine what it is today. Quarantine means actually they are not supposed to contact anybody else. Minimum contact with outside world, that kind of thing. Okay. So these 4 people, they are waiting patiently. See, this mission was called ARTEMIS 2. ARTEMIS is a generic term. ARTEMIS 2 is the second flight in the ARTEMIS program. What they would have done, first they would have been launched from Earth, okay, from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you see, they would have gone around the Earth 2 times, then go towards the moon, loop around the moon once and come back again. This would have taken 10 days. Okay, this mission will go here today or tomorrow, definitely. March 6th is the latest. Okay, and this is their spacecraft. Let me remind you once again, this entire program is called ARTEMIS. But the spacecraft which takes these 4 people, which would have taken them to moon, that is called Orion. Okay, Orion spacecraft. And the generic, and the rocket which launches this Orion spacecraft under ARTEMIS program is called SLS, Space Launch System. Okay, that is the moon. Look at that. Actually, now the rocket is somewhat standing like this. If they have not taken it back to vehicle assembly building, I'm sure that they have not taken. I feel so. And look at the moon that is in the background. Just it's a very impressive picture. And this is the SLS rocket, that yellow colored thing, and from the cylindrical thing from here, this part, it is Orion spacecraft. If you have any questions, you see what happened, why the launch was scrubbed on February 6th or 8th. The reason is they were filling the propellants to the rocket. Okay, this SLS system uses liquid hydrogen as the fuel and liquid oxygen as the oxidizer. That is the core, that yellow colored thing. Okay, that uses liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. On both the sides of that yellow colored cylinder, we have got candlesticks kind of two other rockets. They are solid propellant rockets. They don't contain liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. To generate brute force, you have solid rocket boosters, two of them. Okay, if you go back, look at I will show you. Look at those two candlesticks kind of things. This laser will not work on this. See, these two are solid rocket boosters. And this yellow colored thing is the one which has got 4 rocket engines. They are cryogenic rocket engines. Okay, so they were filling the propellants to this rocket. Okay, and even the upper stage is cryogenic. Okay, I'll come to that. But there was a leak which was observed. Okay, fuel leak. So they could not take chances. You know how much liquid hydrogen. Hydrogen, students, I am sure they are very much aware of it. Hydrogen is the lightest element. Density is very low, but highly combustible. So to fill it in a tank and to supply it outside, it is not easy. It has a very bad tendency to leak, escape. So when they were propellant loading, loading the propellant, they observed a leak. You may remember the Challenger space shuttle exploded because of a leak in the propellant system. That was not cryogenic leak, that was solid rocket leak. But anyway, rocket engineers don't want to take any chances. That is the kind of thing. So it was, you can see in this, see, since liquid hydrogen density is very low, most of it is liquid hydrogen here in this rocket. The central portion, 4 engines are there here, down. And liquid oxygen is there in the top tank. Okay, so entire rocket weighs about 6 million pounds. It generates a thrust. That thrust has to be more than the weight of the rocket. 8.8 million pounds of thrust it generates at the time of liftoff. Brute force. But much of the brute force is provided by these two rockets, solid rockets. Okay, look at that. Again, I told you these two white colored candlesticks are solid ones. Solid rockets are like old Fiat cars kind of thing. In the sense, though they can generate brute force, they are less efficient, very minimally efficient. But cryogenic is the most efficient amongst the rocket engines. Now anyway, since the rocket is standing like this even today, the launch was scrubbed for about a month. These 4 people, okay, Reed Weissman, Victor Glover, Jeremy Hansen, Christina Koch. These 4, they are waiting patiently. Now they have been released from quarantine. Again, 15 days before launch or something, they will go for quarantine again. You have to have a lot of patience to become an astronaut or a cosmonaut. It is not easy. Even you look at our own astronauts or Gaganyatris. To this planetarium, Shubhanshu Shukla has come, Angat Pratap has come, Ajit Krishnan has come, but only Prashant Balkrishnan Nair, the 4th astronaut from Gaganyaan program, he has not visited. The other 3 have visited. Okay. So Artemis, once again I will tell you, Artemis is a program which is intended to take humans back to moon after the Apollo era. But after all, Apollo, what it did, it enabled humans to travel to moon themselves, but at the most they stayed there for 3 days. Within a week, the journey was over. But Artemis doesn't intend to do that. It wants to take humans back to moon for a sustainable presence. Sustainable presence. Not only going there, to stay there continuously. That is that, to utilize the resources. Okay, that is the intention of the Artemis program. This is led by USA, But many countries have signed ARTEMIS Accord. That doesn't mean signing the ARTEMIS Accord means they are not part of the program. They have an intent. Even India has signed that. Okay? Signed the ARTEMIS Accord. That's all, not participating as of now. But Canada, European Space Agency, Japan and USA are the four countries, major countries. Who is this Artemis? Artemis was the Greek goddess. Okay? So, she was goddess of hunting, goddess of fertility, etc., etc. She was supposed to be the twin sister of Apollo. Apollo was the Roman sun god actually. So, Apollo, that name was taken by Americans for their lunar program in the 1960s. Apollo. Apollo was sun god, but they took it for their moon program, that name. Anyway, that is a very, very exciting program. What it did, I will tell you. See, the year was 1972 December. Okay, let me show you. This is the lunar module of Apollo 17, which is sitting there, probably December 14th or 19th. Anyway, December 1972. You see, this is the lunar module or lunar excursion module of the last Apollo spacecraft, which is sitting there on the surface of the moon. Two people are there in the top portion. They are sitting here. Okay, Gene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt, both of them, they were sitting. See how it went up. You can see. ಯಾಕೆ ಇದು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ? Look at that. This is the way it went up. The bottom portion of the spacecraft was used by the top portion as a launch pad and it went up. Please remember, the gravity of the moon is only 1/6 of that on the earth. So it is easy and you don't have the atmosphere to oppose your flight. On the moon there is no atmosphere. So this is the reason why it could able to be launched. And only two people were there. It went to lunar orbit easily and they came back easily. So that was Apollo 17. In the past 5 decades, December 1972, in the last 53 years, no human has set foot on the surface of the moon. Of course, a lot of robotic spacecraft have gone. Apollo, what it did, it enabled the humans to travel beyond their home planet and to explore another world. That is the significance or USP of Apollo program. People would not have thought that it would be possible for them to visit the another world, but this is the footstep. Neil Armstrong, when he uttered the word, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And this is one of the footsteps of Apollo 11 astronauts. This will be there for millions of years, millions of years. You do the same thing on the earth, next day itself it will not be there. But here it will be there for millions of years. There is a reason. Okay, anyway, Apollo program, in addition to enabling them to travel to moon, it gave them confidence about traveling to the other worlds of the solar system. Moon was nothing but the first step. On the other hand, now humans have the confidence to go to Mars. You can see Elon Musk is so confident, in fact, going to Mars. But it's not very easy. But anyway, enthusiasm is always good. But the thing is, a lot of challenges have to be faced, and this is the way. And now let us go to moon. What is so special about the moon? There are so many other heavenly bodies. You have got other 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Pluto is also a very interesting body. May not be called as a planet, but still it's a very interesting. There are comets. See, there is a comet now, comet which has come from outside the solar system. Comet 3I Atlas. Some people are telling it is an alien spaceship and all. That's too much. Okay, it's a comet. Okay, but it tells us that there is the world beyond solar system, the universe beyond solar system is interesting. There are a lot of similarities. So that kind of, but why moon? What is so special about it? The thing is, moon, compared to any other body, it goes around the earth. planets doesn't go, okay, around they don't go around the earth, they don't orbit the earth, okay, they orbit the sun. But here is a body which orbits our earth, only natural satellite of earth. And it is the nearest heavenly body to us, How, look at that, this is the picture taken by a weather satellite, here is the earth and there is the moon. Even one of our satellites which was supposed to look down, it took a picture of the moon. I have used it elsewhere, okay. So just for calibration purpose we took, okay. Look at that, this moon actually from time immemorial, this has been used to calculate time. Month, the word month is nothing but it has come from moon. Moonth is month, okay. And similarly, Chandramana Yugadi, it is based on the moon's phases, okay. Chandramana, like that Sauramana is there, Chandramana. For the calculation of time and perfection of the calendars, moon has been used since time immemorial, and for navigation even, it has been used, okay. But in today's modern world, moon has got many other things which has endeared itself to scientists, because moon is the key to understand the history of the solar system and the history of the earth. That's what scientists say, in fact. And moon has got a lot of resources which are essential for our industrial civilization. Third thing is, moon can act as a stepping stone to our exploration of these worlds which are beyond the moon, which are quite far away from the earth in the solar system, okay. So from these points of view, moon is very important. Look at that, the distance between earth and moon, average distance is 384,400 kilometers, to be more precise 402, okay. And size of the moon is 1/4 the size of the earth. Earth has got a diameter of almost 13,000 kilometers, moon has got a diameter of around 3,500 kilometers. This kind of situation is there only with Pluto. But Pluto is not called as a planet. But Pluto, though it is not called as a planet, it is a dwarf planet. Our moon is 1/4 the size of the earth and lies at a distance of 384,000 kilometers. But Pluto's moon is called Charon or Charon. It lies at a distance of 20,000 kilometers and it is half as big as Pluto itself. Okay, that is very important. But as far as planet is concerned, our system is the most important. So, because moon's distance, moon's size, moon's mass, in terms of mass, you have to put 81 moons, then only you will make one earth in terms of mass. In terms of size, in terms of volumes, you can put 64 moons inside one earth. Because of these two reasons, I have already shown it in other lectures. When you walk on the surface of the moon, it looks like kangaroo hops, in fact, because gravity is very less. You can just jump up, but when you come down anyway, you will experience it. Slowly you will come down, that is different. Okay, look at that, and moon is a horrible world. Don't think that you can go in shirt sleeve environment like this, you can live there. No, it is not possible. The maximum temperature on the moon roughly is around 120 degrees plus 120 degrees centigrade, and in the north polar region in some of the craters they have measured a temperature of minus 250 degrees centigrade. Even if you go to a shadow, okay, even if you go to a shadow like this here, your temperature plummets. Does it happen on the earth? It will not. What is the night time daytime difference? Is it minus 100, minus 200? It is not like earth. Moon is a busier place, okay. Anyway, moon goes around the earth once in 27.3 days and it spins around its own axis once in 27.3 days. Look at that. Always that green colored thing only is facing the earth. See, that is called as synchronous rotation. What is the end result? You will not be able to see the other hemisphere of the moon at all. Only one hemisphere. Till 1959, humans did not know how the other hemisphere of the moon looked. A spacecraft called Lunik 3 was the one which took the pictures, and its path was similar to whatever is Artemis is taking today. Okay, Galileo Galilei was the first person to observe the moon through a telescope. What was visible to him was a lot of mountains, craters, lowlands, highlands. All these things made him to conclude that moon is also a world. Before that, people were thinking, no, moon is not a world. Moon is a perfect thing. Whatever is there in the sky is perfect. Earth is imperfect. We are imperfect. Everything is perfect there. People were thinking, no. Modern thinking is not like that. So, Galileo's observation was responsible for that. Then a lot of telescopes were built, bigger and bigger telescopes. Moon could be observed in much more detail, but the problem was, two questions were there. If a spacecraft lands on the surface of the moon, will it go down as though it is going through quicksand? Okay? It may slowly sink. That's what people were scared. The other thing is, how does the far side of the moon look? Nobody knew. 1959, Lunik 3 was the spacecraft which, see, it was launched from the Earth. It went beyond the moon, took the picture of the moon. When it again came near the Earth, it transmitted the pictures. Look at that. Now you see how the moon's hemispheres, they differ. See, these black areas are called as Maria. Maria is plural of mare. Mare in Latin, it is sea. Even today in Italian, today's Italian also mare means sea. This is where Neil Armstrong landed, exactly here, roughly. That is called Mare Tranquillitatis, sea of tranquility. That is the place. But you can see mares there, no mares there for the most part. That is bizarre. Sorry. Quickly we'll go. In 1966, Lunik 9 was the first spacecraft that landed on the surface of the moon, and it didn't sink like as though it was sinking through quicksand. No, it sat there firmly. So humans got the courage, yes, we can go and land on the moon. Okay, that is the kind of thing. Then there was an era called Cold War era that came into existence after the Second World War, when United States and its allies, as well as the former Soviet Union and its allies, they were competing with each other as though they were Olympic sprinters. And a lot of distrust was there between them. In that era, when the Soviet Union appeared to take an upper hand, President Kennedy announced that the goal of the United States was to land a man on the moon and to bring him back safely by 1960s. By the end of the 60s, Americans took that challenge. Money was flowing like river, okay, and they could able to accomplish, and the program was called as Apollo program. This is the Apollo spacecraft. Apollo spacecraft had three parts. This SM is called as service module, this cylinder kind of thing up to here. See, this is the one which contained the systems to supply drinking water to astronauts, electricity to astronauts, and it carried the propellants for this rocket engine. Then this was this part where astronauts were sitting when they were launched and when they came back to Earth. This is called as command module, this conical thing, this part. Then this is called as lunar module or lunar excursion module. This is the one I showed you lifting off from the surface of the moon. This is the lower portion, this is the upper portion. Lower portion also had a rocket engine, upper portion also had a rocket engine. Okay, so please remember the configuration of this is very important. So they wanted to test the Apollo spacecraft in the 1960s in a systematic way. Suddenly there was commotion that intelligence reports told the United States, the Soviet Union was seriously thinking of landing a man on the moon or going around the moon and bringing him back as quickly as possible. So they took enormous risk and they sent these three people, very, very courageous people. Okay, Frank Borman, James Lovell, William Anders. James Lovell died very recently. Any one of you have seen the movie Apollo 13? Apollo 13 is about him only. Tom Hanks has acted there. All of you should see that. So these three people were the first humans to leave the Earth orbit first humans to travel to some other world. They were the first people to circle the moon and come back safely. Apollo 8, not Apollo 11, Apollo 8. Frank Borman, James Lowell, William Anders, these three people. See, it is not easy. Very easy to say they went, came back. As soon as he went to space, the commander of the mission, Frank Borman, he had an attack of dysentery in such a small spacecraft. How difficult it would have been. He had vomiting and he had dysentery. In that environment, only 10 feet high spacecraft, cramped. You can't even, you imagine three people sitting there. They endured all that. They went to moon and came back. That is human spirit, I would say. Then this is the way they went towards the moon. They circled the moon and came back. And this is the picture taken by Apollo 8 astronauts as they circled the moon as the first human beings. They looked at the earth. Look at the earth. No borders are seen between countries. No divisions. It appeared as though earth was a very, very, very fragile spaceship. So that changed the human perspective, that we have to guard the earth. We have to behave responsibly. That was brought by Apollo 8 because they could able to see earth not as a world but as a planet for the first time. Okay, anyway, then Apollo 11, instead of circling, going towards the moon, circling and coming back, it landed on the surface of the moon. Look at that. And I want to show you the Saturn V, the mighty Saturn V launch when, see, he is Werner Farmer White. Oh, Madi. Kindly bear with me. So, Saturn V was the launch vehicle. Now SLS for ARTEMIS. At that time it was Saturn V, and Saturn V was 30.
We have been given the scientific knowledge,
he is the man who built Saturn V.
ability, and the materials to pursue the exploration.
Very few videos are this big, otherwise very
small. To ignore these great resources would be a corruption of a God-given ability.
Look at that, this is the
9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Second, this rocket gobbled up 15,000 kilograms of 15,000 kilograms. I did not even think like that. That is how it gobbled up. Lift off like that. Strong Edwin Aldrin to Michael Collins was sitting on top of that rocket. Look at that 36-story high rocket. Okay, I don't want to show much because next one. Why I showed this rocket launch is the launch of a rocket perfectly obeys Newton's laws. That too, Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. To lift a massive weight of 3,000 tons, you have to expend the propellants at that rate. Okay, rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied, and it will be in the direction of the force applied. That is Newton's second law. Okay, for our action there is an equal and opposite reaction is the third law. Okay, and the first law applies more towards orbiting rather than this. Okay, so this is the man on the moon picture. Perhaps billions of copies have been printed. If you think that is Neil Armstrong, that is not Neil Armstrong, that is Edwin Aldrin, the second man on the moon. If you want Neil Armstrong's photo, that small thing which is visible in the visor of that helmet, that is Neil Armstrong. Unfortunately, not even a single picture of Neil Armstrong good picture is taken, because the picture would have been taken by Edwin Aldrin, and this immortal photograph is taken by Neil Armstrong. Somehow Edwin Aldrin forgot to take his picture. Though Neil Armstrong is first man on the moon, there is no picture of him. Look at the paradox. Okay, anyway, in the Apollo program, 12 people have walked on the moon. Apollo 11, Apollo 12, 13 did not land. It had an accident and came back. 14, 15, 16, 17. What did they do in the, if somebody says they have not gone, it is studio setup, it is all false. Don't believe such things, for heaven's sake. If you believe such wretched statements, so you are doing a disservice to science. 12 people have definitely walked on them. Okay, this is Apollo 12 astronaut. Look at that. His spacecraft is there. Look at the navigation. It is there, visible, about a kilometer away. He is coming to some other spacecraft which has landed some 2-3 years earlier and taking parts from there. Look at that. Apollo 13, you can see there was a big accident because there was an explosion in the service module. Where is service module? This is the one. This part, whatever is damaged is this part which is shown. Look at that. That is the thing. It was fortunate for 3 astronauts, they came back quickly, and Apollo 14 carried a cart to carry instruments on the moon. Apollo 15, 16, 17 carried a lunar buggy, that is a robotic, not robotic, a car which was driven by astronauts in fact. And this is the Apollo 17 astronaut Eugene Cernan. He is the one who was the last man on the moon. In 1972 December, he left, and after that no human being has set foot on the moon. Look at the earth there on his head, and 12 people have walked on the moon. 384 kilograms of lunar rock and soil samples have been brought by Apollo astronauts, and thanks to that, the mystery of moon's origin has been solved using those rocks. Okay, now after 1972, no human being has landed. Then in 1976, a Soviet spacecraft, that is a Russian-Soviet spacecraft, lifted off from the lunar soil carrying small amount of lunar rock and soil samples. After that, for 14 years, humans, they forgot the moon. But the second phase began with Japan in 1990. And today it is still continuing, and you know very well, your country has landed a robotic spacecraft on the moon. Look at that, everything is robotic, but still humans have their USP. It is not only India, okay, South Korea has sent a spacecraft around the moon, okay, European Space Agency, China, Japan, all of them. So, United States, Russia, China, Japan, European Space Agency, India, South Korea. Anyway, that is Pragyan. I don't want to spend time on that. Now let us come back to Artemis. I told you the intention of the Artemis is to take back humans to moon, not for a 1 day, 2 day stay and come back again. That is done already 50 years back. For a sustained presence of humans on the moon. Continuously let them stay, further explore the moon, try to utilize the resources found there, okay, and to build a lunar economy there in the far future. So this is the thing. As I told you, Artemis is the name of the program. It began by United States, but 61 countries have signed Artemis Accords till now. January 26, 2026, by the time 61 countries have signed Artemis Accords. That doesn't mean they are participating. They have the intent, okay, including India. So, Artemis is the program, SLS is the launch vehicle, Orion is the spacecraft. Okay, now as I told you, the intention is to take the humans back. Not only humans means not Caucasian Americans only. The first woman, okay, the first woman astronaut is going to moon in the Artemis program. Today she should have been launched by today, but anyway it is postponed. And first person of color, as they say in the United States, not the Caucasian American, an Afro-American astronaut is going. The third thing is, it is not only United States which is going to moon, a Canadian citizen also is going to. Okay, Jeremy Hansen, he is a Canadian. So this is the USP of Artemis 2. Okay, look at that, 61 countries, and you can see your own country here very much. Artemis Accords signed by India also. Okay, so that's the thing. Next, see, during the Apollo era, there was an intense competition to the United States from the former Soviet Union. Today, who is giving who is in the race? China. China has done a lot of things. It is almost frightening. Okay, in the domain of space, they have what is like Artemis. They are known as International Lunar Research Station, ILRS. That is their program, and probably Pakistan is also part of that. Okay, that is the kind of it. And now what do we do on the moon? How do we live on the moon? You may remember Chandrayaan lander, Vikram lander had an instrument called SHAS. That is, it inspected the lunar soil. It is called as a regolith. Okay, it put a probe for 10 centimeters. Okay, and beyond that even. And what was the temperature of the lunar soil at different depths, it found out, and the conclusion is lunar soil can be a good insulator. That is the kind of thing. That is the conclusion. Your country has not sat quietly. It has also done whatever it could do, okay, to study the lunar atmosphere, to study the lunar surface, even to study the lunar interior. It has done its level best. And using its rover Pragyan, it has studied what are the elements present in the lunar soil at the same time. So, this is the picture of a lunar brick, okay, simulation of a lunar brick, how these bricks can be built to construct buildings on the surface of the moon. That is European Space Agency, people are very active in this kind of thing. And when you see the minerals, many of the minerals, many of the metals, many of the other resources which are essential for our industrial civilization, they are present on the moon. Especially, there is a group of rocks called creep. K means potassium. REE means rare earth elements. Okay, such things are needed for our mobiles, for electric car batteries and such things. China is the major supplier. Then P means phosphorus. So all these things are there, different minerals are there. And your Chandrayaan was the one which conclusively said water is there on the moon. So water is a resource on the moon. What do we do with water? You can use it for drinking, for astronauts. You can electrolyze the water and separate it into oxygen and hydrogen. Oxygen you use it for breathing. Hydrogen you can use it as rocket propellant. That is water. Water is also a resource there. Instead of carrying, you can see there is yet another thing called helium-3. It is an isotope of helium that can be a good and non-polluting, almost non-polluting source for future nuclear reactors, not fission reactors, fusion reactors, future fusion reactors. Okay, that is the thing. And you can see a lunar economy thriving in this NASA artist's imagination. And the India also has expressed its intent to send astronauts to moon by 2040, and by 2047, when the country actually celebrates 1 century of its independent existence, it wants to have a permanent presence on the moon. So these are the published things. I am not telling anything. Please take it as though it is coming from a science communicator. I am not a spokesman for Indian Space Program or ISRO or anything. I am a science communicator. What is there, I am just telling, published thing. Okay, now let us come to Artemis again. Quickly we will go through in the next 10 minutes. Of course, SLS is the launch vehicle, and under the Artemis program, Artemis 1 was launched in November 2022. No astronauts were launched. Under the Artemis 1 program, only the Orion spacecraft was launched. Within the Orion spacecraft, there were mannequins to simulate the human beings and to measure many parameters, how the spacecraft performs and all those things. Look at that. It went similar to now Artemis 2. It was launched towards the moon, went around the moon twice and came back within 25 days. After launching, within 25 days it came back to Earth, looped around the moon and came back. Now this was the picture of the moon and the Earth taken by Artemis 1. Okay, look at that. Both of them are there in the single frame, and it landed on the surface of the Earth. I mean surface of the Earth on water, of course. Okay, you can see this. And now let us come to Artemis 2. At least some interesting things you see. As I told you, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, he is the commander, Victor Glover is the pilot, and Isaac Mann, he is the third one, and the fourth one is Christina Koch, okay, a lady, first lady to go towards the moon. And you can see the under the Artemis program on the SLS launch vehicle, Orion spacecraft is being lowered. You see, this is a representative thing. As I told you, these are the two solid rocket boosters of the SLS system, 4 rocket engines, cryogenic rocket engines, liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen. Then there is an upper stage, cryogenic upper stage. So these two, this core stage, upper stage, then comes the Orion spacecraft, in fact. Okay, you can see this. And Orion spacecraft itself consists of 2 things. One is, this is where the 4 astronauts are sitting, and this is the place, this is the one which supplies water, electricity and propellant also to the rocket engines. And look at that. And this is the Orion spacecraft, really how big it is, you can see. Look at that. Orion spacecraft itself has a rocket engine and a group of small rockets to orient itself properly. And again, these are the 4 people, Reed Wiseman, as I told you, and Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and these 3 people, 3 Americans, and that gentleman is a Canadian. Okay, and this is the way Orion spacecraft astronauts have to enter the Orion spacecraft, and this is the way. In the Apollo spacecraft, hundreds of switches were there. This has got minimum switches. Okay, and look at that. They can stand inside. Compared to Apollo spacecraft, about 30% more space is there in this, and that is good. Look at that. What do they eat in Orion spacecraft? Let us see.
A lot of the foods we picked, we actually
He's
don't
telling
like eating them
what are all
room
the
temperature.
things.
So really this living space is everything, and right now let's think of it as our kitchen, where the 4 of us will gather to share meals when we're on our 9-day trip around the moon. And when you eat food in space, it's all pre-prepared, you rehydrate it, or you just open it up right to eat.
Next time.
So over next here to the commander's seat is our potable water dispenser. So inside here, that's how we'll set up our device to be able to portion our water to fill up water bags with drink, but also to rehydrate the food that we'll be eating.
Okay, anyway, don't
warm the food in the food warmer. Looks like a little briefcase.
See how they're
put
eating?
the food in there and it just warms it up. Takes probably about an hour.
Everything is freeze
inside the suitcase.
Water is taken out, it is preserved. They put hot water. They put hot water and
save ourselves
they eat.
time. And
So
not a lot of
look at that. It looks like kesari
a lot
bath,
of the foods we picked, we actually
but it is not kesari bath. Something else. It is there. This one. See, diet is very important there. It should not produce too much of, what can I say, residue it should not have in space. All these things have to be taken up. Biscuits, you see the way in which they
End
prepare,
up with a lot of
but everything will be
That's one of the
squeezed
things
dry,
we do
and
Velcro
to a certain extent,
around it to give
MTR
it
has
ready,
utilized
but
this.
everything that you use
Okay.
and want to sit
The
down,
thing
you've
is-
got to find a piece of Velcro to stick it to. And one of those things is the food packages, and so they all.
So that's what, and this is more interesting. How do they use bathroom in space? This is the
One
kind of,
place that we can go during the mission, or we could actually.
they have got a
like,
toilet in
hold
this,
on
can
for
you
a
believe?
moment.
In such a cramped space, they have a toilet. This is the
So
first
here's
time
a little
Apollo astronauts, what they were doing,
Trainer. So
for
this would be the floor of
throwing
the
out their solid and
capsule.
liquid waste.
We have it set up here
You can't
like
even
this so
imagine.
that we can practice in gravity.
This is,
But this would be
this
the
is
door.
the toilet there
So if
in
you
the
were
Orion
looking at
spacecraft.
the
Look at that.
toilet from inside the capsule.
See, it is on
this
the
would be
floor.
You would float
See,
over
they can
to it,
open that.
open up.
They have the
this
privacy
hinging
of
door
going to toilet.
and float on in.
Look at that. See, it is there. Okay, the commode is
Here
there.
you can see
But
the
it
toilet.
has to be very, very carefully used. Very, very carefully used. Anyway, if the solid and liquid waste, they are not coming out of the body, toxins can accumulate in the body and it causes diseases. So this is very important in fact. So from that point of view, it's very good. You know, Apollo astronauts, really you can't believe. They never had any of these things. No privacy. They used to use plastic bags. My goodness. But that is why they are the heroes. But today you see, at least humans have evolved. And there is a toilet. Anyway, this Artemis 2 is nothing but it is launched from the earth, goes behind the moon, loops around that and comes back in about 10 days. That is the idea. And this is the launch. Just animation of, see, these are the 4 cryogenic rocket engines. First they ignite and then those 2 solid rockets ignite and it goes up. Because solid rockets are the ones which provide brute force to it. Yeah, look at that. That is the way it is. So it is launched like that. And next one, how solid rockets are separated, we will see. Look at that. That is the way solid rockets are separated. But these 4 engines will be there. It goes up still and it goes to orbit, around 2000 kilometer high orbit kind of thing. It goes with the help of those 4 cryogenic engines. And on top of that, there is another stage which you see there in the picture. On the back, the 3rd stage engine is also seen. In the front part is the Orion spacecraft. Look at that. See, this is the way it goes. Solar panels are there for that. And look at that. See, this is how we see the solar panels are tracking the sun. The 3rd stage of SLS still, okay, it is attached to the Orion spacecraft and it casts off that one and see, it goes to a higher orbit using this 3rd stage engine and that is the way. And after that, they separate themselves from the 3rd stage and they conduct what is known as proximity operations. That is, if they want to attach one spacecraft with the other, how do they do it? They want to practice. Everything has to be practiced. Otherwise, look at that. See the way in which thrusters are firing. And in the Earth orbit, they are practicing this. Look at that, how they turn. And the first black astronaut, Victor Glover, he is the one who is going to perform this. Okay, look at that. This is the way the orientation of the spacecraft is changed. And okay, that's the thing. And then next phase is Orion spacecraft uses its own rocket engine, okay, to travel towards the moon. Look at that, how it is going towards the moon. It goes towards the moon, goes behind the moon on the far side of the moon, then takes pictures, etc., etc. And yeah, look at that, how it is coming round, okay, coming back towards the earth, okay. Look at the spacecraft there and quickly. So this is the way it comes back towards the earth, okay. See, now once it partially circles the moon, it is coming back towards the earth. Look at that, it is falling towards the earth and it separates from the service module, that is the rocket engines and all those things. See, ultimately only this conical part of Orion which comes back. Okay, look at that. And finally this is the re-entry of the spacecraft. It endures a temperature of 2750 degrees centigrade because of the friction with the air molecules. Look at that, the heat shield is there that protects it, and ultimately with the help of parachutes, okay, they are the pilot parachutes, drogue parachutes, and finally parachutes will deploy and of course it will land on water. Okay, this is the heat shield. Heat shield is the one which withstands the very high temperature of re-entry. You know what is the temperature at which they re-enter the Earth's, what is the speed with which they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere? Not much, 40,000 kilometers per hour. 40,000 kilometers per hour, that is the escape velocity of the Earth. Okay, this is the heat shield. Nothing comes at free of cost. If you want to decelerate your spacecraft, your temperature increase. You have to manage that. That's the way. So it is landing, and now Artemis 3 is next one. Very quickly I will tell you, Artemis 3 wants to land on them. Now these people, Artemis 2, today they would have lifted off and in next 10 days partially circling the moon and coming back. Artemis 3, they want to land on the surface of the moon using Orion spacecraft, but Orion cannot land on the surface of the moon. For that, Elon Musk's human landing system Starship was to have been used. Okay, even now they are trying to do that, but other competitors are also coming, and this is a huge spacecraft, we can't even imagine. Okay, so this is the one they will use for landing from the lunar orbit, okay, and again go up and joins the Orion spacecraft. Okay, look at the way in which the spacecraft is there and lunar car is there, futuristic cars, and that's what is the idea of Artemis program? To further explore the moon as well as to utilize the lunar resources for in situ lunar economy. That is, there only you utilize the resources. Okay, that is the kind of thing, because if you want to carry water from here to moon, terribly expensive, so you electrolyze water on the moon, okay, or use it and use oxygen for breathing. You need not have to carry from the earth. You can see the Jeep there, and you can see a huge base on the moon sometime in the not in the near future, far into the future after 2050, so probably something like that. You can see a lot of people working on the moon. Why? There is no surprise. People are working in Antarctica, isn't it, even today? Similar to that. But moon is different, Antarctica is different. Antarctica, still you are on earth. But this is an alien world. Anyway, 2040, we too have the ambition as per the published reports. And as I told you, these are the things and how you can utilize the resources on the moon. Ultimately, let me tell you, what is the other goal of Artemis program? To Mars through moon. You have an experience of living in space, in another alien world on the moon itself. Moon is very near, 384,000 kilometers. Mars, even when Mars is very near to you, it is 6 crore kilometers. To go to Mars with today's technology, it takes anywhere 6 to 10 months. Once you go there, I want to come back, you can't say that. Again, alignment of the planets, you have to, 3 years it takes. If something happens, you get training on a world which is very near to you. That is the idea of Artemis program, in addition to all this. Thank you very much. So, this is what I wanted to tell you. What is Artemis program? What is Artemis, first of all? Why it is there today? What are its features? How does it take humans to moon? Okay, how will it proceed? What are the different phases? And ultimately, how will it help humanity to become more spacefaring. This is what I have tried to give you a short overview of that using this lecture. Thank you very much, and let me thank all my colleagues. Srinivas is there, and our Deepak, Ravi, Sharanya, and all others they have done. Okay, so thanks to them, because ultimately I am visible here, so they have done a lot of groundwork. All of them, whoever has worked, I thank them from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. And kindly do come for our programs. You see, any latest thing is that we thought that today we will have a lecture on Comet 3I Atlas. I told you. Till now, as humanity knows, only three objects humans have detected to have come from outside the solar system. Okay, in 2017, Oumuamua, there was one cigar-shaped heavenly, cigar-shaped asteroid kind of thing. It came in 2019 to 20. Around that time, Comet Borisov was. Third one is Comet 3I Atlas. I thought I would have that. I discussed with Anand. Then I said that I would rather speak on ARTEMIS, which is far more exciting. So that is how I selected. If you have any questions, please, at the same time, please treat it as though it has come from a passionate science communicator. I am not a spokesperson for ISRO, JNP or anything like that. As a science communicator, I have shared my views. Please, if you have any questions, kindly do ask.
Any questions?
No questions means everything you have understood. Yeah, please, sir. Yeah.
As I told you in the
Earlier.
comparing the other space agencies and Indian space agencies, any of the space research programs related to Moon or Mars, like the one man you said, Elon Musk, he as an individual with SpaceX and his other companies working towards the Mars missions. Why our Indian government is not promoting any private organizations to work like that?
His question is very broad one. See, a lot of countries and space agencies as well as private companies like Elon Musk is working towards Mars and all those things. Why Indian government is not promoting anything? Who told you? Today, if you were to see the Indian space ecosystem is a word which we use in ecology, isn't it? You have different elements there. Okay? Who said the Indian government has not done? In 2020 itself, it brought in private sector on a massive scale. Before that, ISRO was doing everything. Now you have got ISRO, you have got private space agencies who can do a lot, consortiums. You have startups, fantastic. Prime Minister inaugurated Skyroot Aerospace's facility in Hyderabad. Okay? Then you have to handhold the newcomers. You have in space, to regulate them in space, and to commercialize whatever we have, whether it is ISRO or private agencies, whatever their commercial capability. If you want to market it, you have NSIL. What else you want government of India to do? If Elon Musk does that, he has a lot of money. And America's economy, you see, America's technology, you see, whatever is there with us, from that point of view, whatever government has done, it is very good. This I have told in many TV interviews. Whatever Indian government, it is a very, 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 very well thought out strategy. It is doing, no doubt. Yeah. Anything else?
Anything else?
No questions. Good. So, students, please, sir.
Is being done in terms of the life existence on the Earth? I mean,
yes.
On Moon, is it?
On the Moon as such, there is no reporting of that. But in space, yes. Shubhanshu Shukla himself did a lot of things. In the International Space Station, they have done. In Space Shuttle, they have done. But on the Moon, there was no human spaceflight program. But so what? They would have taken it in robotic spacecraft. Not much has been done. But in the International Space Station, Many things have been done as far as life sciences are concerned. Okay, not on the moon too much. No. Now they will take it up. Take it up. Definitely they will take it up. In next 10 years, you see, there will be a sea change in this regard. Anything else? So, yeah. Yeah, you can ask as many questions as possible. It's okay. I thought you would say it is not a question, it's a statement. You are telling it's a request. Oh, very good.
Looking at your the chronological knowledge you possess, like years and the names and all that, you put it in a way how you.
Yes.
It's really astonishing. But I know you have written the book on Mars.
Yes.
Same way, a small booklet if you could make for kids on these chronologies of space events and all that.
I will do that.
It will be very helpful for.
If JNP is kind enough to publish, I will write at no cost. I will do that. Definitely.
Just a request, sir.
Chandrayaan also it is there. Good. See, let me tell you, you said some good words, thank you. But you think of the system which enabled me to grow like that is where I do 1,000 namaskarams. My bosses, where I worked, they encouraged me. Sometimes, my work suffered, but this guy has got an interest, passion. So they encouraged me. That encouragement is responsible for this. My effort is there, I don't deny, but if my effort is there, everything is there, if somebody were not to recognize, it will go waste. I thank them. I will do that, whatever. Yeah, no request. Good. Thank you. I will do that. About Chandrayaan also I have written, but I am updating it now. Pardon? Yes, digital and printing, everything, fortunately from JNP side itself we can do. That is what we have done. Okay? I'll get you a copy. No problem. Okay? Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you very much.
Everyone. And I'll just announce about the next week programs. We have a science movie next Sunday at 5:15 p.m. and third Sunday. Okay, and after that we'll have programs for Science Day as well. So I request you to keep following our social media or websites where you'll get the information. Thank you very much. Thanks again. And thank you. Please have snacks before you leave.